today we're going to hop right into some key moments from Letecia Stauch's trial. I believe this is day 9, where her daughter testifies. Parts of this can be really heartbreaking, so if you need to cut away, please do. And I'm not going to show the full thing. The full link to her full testimony from Law and Crimes channel is going to be linked in the description. We're going to start from when she gets up on the stand, and then we're going to hit some key moments. And this is all from a psychological perspective, looking at what it might have been like growing up with this particular mother and then seeing her testify. I think her testimony is very different from Buster Murdaugh, who I think either doesn't believe or something. Like there's something where it seems like he believes that his father is still innocent. The situations are very different. She's testifying based on things that she saw because she was there. To clarify, she was there in the car when they were traveling, not knowing, according to her testimony, that Gannon was in the back. To me, her testimony did come across as credible, and things that she didn't know, it seemed like she said that she truly didn't know.
All right, Ms. Hunt, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am. A little farther forward. It's okay. It's all right. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yeah. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your steps as you step into the stand.
This is also probably one of the first times that she has seen her mother since all of this started. And so let's hop back into this.
Good morning, Ms. Hunt.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record?
Harley Hunt, Hunt.
Very difficult for you right now. We're going to get through this, okay? I'm going to ask you some questions and we're going to have a conversation.
Okay.
I want you to do the best you can, all right? Everything we say is being recorded, so if you can, speak as loud as possible. You can also...
I think the prosecutor did a good job of being aware and even empathetic to this situation that she's in right now, and we'll keep going.
Pull that microphone closer to you, if you like. Okay.
Okay.
How old are you, Harley?
I'm 20.
Okay. And who's your mom?
Letecia Stauch.
Is it the same Letecia Stauch who's seated to my left here in the middle of these two gentlemen?
Yes.
May the record reflect identification of the defendant subject to cross-examination.
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
Have you lived with your mom your entire life?
Yes.
When was the last time you saw her in person?
The day that she was arrested.
Would that have been March 2nd, 2020?
Yes.
And was that in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina?
Yes.
Do you live out in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina now?
I do.
What do you do out there?
I go to college.
What are you studying?
Nursing.
How much longer do you have for that?
A year and a half.
Pretty excited about that?
Yeah.
Good. Things going well in school?
So far, yes.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about your family. Back in 2015, 2014 timeframe, did your mother marry someone named Albert Stauch?
Yes.
And did Albert have kids of his own?
Yes.
What's his kids' names? Do you remember?
Lena and Gannon.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I show you what's been introduced in evidence as People's Exhibit 1. Recognize that person?
Yes.
Is that Gannon Stauch?
Yes.
And Lena Stauch is his younger sister?
Yes.
What was your relationship with Gannon Stauch?
We had a good relationship. Of course, we had like an age difference. But I would always try to be there for them when I could.
Do you remember how old you were when Albert and your mom got married?
I think I was 12 or so.
How old was Gannon when that happened? Do you remember?
He was really young, 4 or 5.
And Lena was even younger than that, I would imagine. You remember how old Lena was?
Like 2 maybe or so.
And so did you also have a relationship with Lena?
Yes, I did.
Was she like a sister to you?
Yes.
And was Gannon like a brother to you?
Yes.
Although there's an age difference, especially probably when you got into your teenage years, right?
Correct.
I would imagine they may have been a little annoying for you a little bit.
Yes.
Is that fair to say? Okay. What about your mom's relationship with Gannon over the years? Can you start out perhaps when Albert and your mom got married? How was that relationship between Gannon and your mom?
Yeah, so it was different at first because we were like a blended family. So we were just getting used to, more people in our life. They had an okay relationship. There were problems here and there, but
Was there a point in time when Albert and your mom first got married where Albert didn't have custody of the kids?
yes.
And were things a little easier when the kids weren't around?
I wouldn't say easier. Having to go back and forth between, the weekends and everything with them were difficult because, Albert, of course, wanted his kids full time with him. So I just remember there being like a lot of problems with that. But
At some point, did Albert get custody of both Lena and Gannon?
yes,
And were they living with you all more of a full-time basis?
yes,
And did you observe the relationship between everyone at that time?
yes,
Did it seem to be, for lack of a better term, a normal family situation?
yes.
Um, what about your relationship with Albert? How'd that go?
We had a good relationship. When Albert first came in, it's when my dad passed away. So, that was difficult for me at first because I didn't want like my father to feel replaced. That's how I felt like in my heart. But as time grew, we got closer.
What was your father's name?
Chance.
Hunt?
Yes.
Do you remember when he died?
Yes. When I was 12 in October.
So would that have been October 2000? Help me out with the math here.
12 or 14.
Sometime in that time frame?
Yeah.
When your father passed away, were Albert and your mom married?
Yes.
Do you know how your dad passed away?
Yes.
How did he die?
An overdose.
And when did you first learn that?
This past week.
What were you told how he died before?
That someone came in and robbed him and killed him.
And who told you that?
My mom.
Had she ever told you the truth as to how your dad died?
No.
How'd you learn about that then?
The internet.
That struck me, and I will say it a million times over. Kids should be told age appropriate things. And it's so odd that she was told that it was this violent way. And I don't know why a mother would do that. And hearing the rest of her testimony about her relationship with her mom, it sounds like her mom was incredibly manipulative. And I don't even like that word. I typically say that people, they're getting their needs met the wrong way. And some of the diagnoses, and I haven't seen a psychologist come forward and give their diagnosis. I know she's saying that she has DID, which, because later they're going to ask her, has her mother ever responded to different names? Has she ever seen other personalities or other alters or anything like that? And for somebody that does legit have DID, it wouldn't just come up in a situation like this. It wouldn't be where in one moment of stress, all of a sudden now they have dissociative identity disorder, or what we used to call multiple personality disorder. Because later, and I'm going to try to find that clip, she goes on to say that her mom would make threats to harm herself, that at one point she thought her mom did make an attempt, and just a very unstable and chaotic dynamic between the two of them, and a very enmeshed where the child is feeling responsible for the adult's emotions and the child is just having to go along with everything the adult is doing. This in no way excuses anything. I like looking at these from a clinical perspective to try to understand the dynamic, especially where Harley was initially not compliant or not cooperative with the police, and that she really felt that she would be going against her mother if she did do that. But the fact that she was told that he died in this violent way. I've worked with people where somebody overdosed, and what the child was told is that they had a heart attack, or somebody tried to make light of what happened and they kind of hid the substance part. I've never heard of somebody saying that it was much more violent than what it actually was. That was just very strange. So then he goes into some of the history. I'm going to skip forward just a little bit.
Yes, we did.
Why did you move to Charleston, South Carolina?
For their job purposes.
Whose jobs?
Both my mom and Albert. My mom wanted to teach at a new school, and Albert was able to find like a job position there too.
And did your mom tell you why she wanted to teach at a new school?
Just to get away from Myrtle Beach.
Did your mom want to move frequently?
Yes.
Was that pretty constant throughout your relationship with her?
Yes.
And so how long did you live in Charleston?
Not long, maybe a year, if that.
And where did you go from Charleston?
Back to Myrtle Beach.
And why did you go back to Myrtle Beach?
Because my mom didn't like being in Charleston.
And did she tell you that?
Yes.
And so were you having to switch schools from Myrtle Beach to Charleston and then back to Myrtle Beach?
Yes, so I actually went back to school as well when we stayed in Charleston too.
And did you end up graduating from high school early?
I did, yes.
Tell the jury about that. How'd that happen?
I eventually, when we moved to Alaska, I did online school. So I did 2 years of that. So I ended up doing 3 years of high school.
So you graduated essentially from being in Alaska doing online studies?
Yes.
And we're going to get there in a minute, okay? Do you remember how long you lived in Myrtle Beach the second time?
No.
Did you know whether or not your mom and Al Stauch actually bought a house in Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that.
Once we moved back, they bought a house there that we had over a course of time, also when we lived in Alaska.
Okay. And was that the first home that was purchased between Al and your mom?
Yes, that was purchased.
And at some point, did Albert Stauch get orders to go to Alaska?
Yes.
Were you in the home at that time?
Yes.
The home that you purchased?
Yes.
Tell us, the jury, about that. What were the circumstances? What was the plan for you and your mother and the kids when Albert was sent to Alaska to be stationed there?
Yeah, so he was stationed there. And we still had our house in Myrtle Beach, and we would go back and forth from being in Alaska and Myrtle Beach.
And when you say we, who are we talking about?
Me and my mom.
Do you know where the kids were at this point in time?
Sometimes they would be with.
So the short end of it is that there was a lot of moving around. There was a lot of back and forth. And really, it was all based on however Letecia was feeling. That's where her daughter would end up going with her. So at some point, Harley gets a lawyer because she could possibly be charged as an accessory. And that is when she became more cooperative and provided the information that she provides during her testimony.
When they arrested my mom and the FBI came to the house and told me.
So what happens when you wake up morning hours of February 4th, 2020? What's going on in the room? Tell us about when you checked out and things like that.
Yeah, it was just like all the other days we just check out. Afterwards, we go grab breakfast and then we go to Orlando.
Why are you going to Orlando?
She was planning that that's where we could stay. I remember her like calling apartment places to like see if we could live there.
As far as you concerned, is that where you're going to be?
And this is after they've already stopped in Texas. They've stopped all of these other places. The plan keeps changing. They did ask if the mother was obeying traffic laws, and they ask all of those things because the prosecution is trying to say that these are the behaviors of somebody who is planning, that has full awareness of what they're doing, they're covering their tracks, that if somebody was having a mental episode, a mental break, that they wouldn't be acting in this way.
Be living at the
Yes.
end of this trip?
Yes.
Miss Sun, I want to ask you a direct question, okay?
Okay.
Did you help your mother throw that suitcase over a bridge in Pensacola, Florida
No, I did not.
on February 4th, 2020?
No, I did not.
How was your mother acting like after you left Pensacola?
And the last question, he had to ask that because just in case the defense was going to try to say that this was all her, I don't know, just in case the defense was going to come later. So I think he wanted to ask it up front to get ahead of things.
I remember that morning when we went to go get breakfast. That was another time that I went into the restaurant. Like I went into McDonald's to get our food, and she was just like I just remember her like being sad, just like being like down.
Did you ask her why she's sad or down?
Yeah, she was just like because of everything that's going on.
When you get to Orlando, do you remember how long it took you to get to Orlando from Pensacola?
No.
Is it the next day?
Yeah.
What happens when you get to Orlando?
We were supposed to stay there. It was supposed to be like our time that we were gonna stay there for a while. I think she booked our hotel for like 5 or so days. And we left early.
Why'd you leave early? Do you know?
She kept saying like they know I'm here, they're following us.
And who was she referring to when she said they're following us or they know we're here?
The police.
Was she acting the same way she was when you're in Colorado saying that following us and things like that?
Yes.
So what happens after that conversation?
We end up leaving. And I remember her saying like, you know, we don't have like the money to keep staying at all these hotels in different places. So we drove to Myrtle Beach.
And do you remember when you got to Myrtle Beach?
A day or two after that.
Did you turn the van in to the budget rental center in Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
Did you go there directly or did you go somewhere else first?
We went somewhere else first.
Remember how long it took to turn the van?
I remember we got to Myrtle Beach. She had parked the van at a hotel near where we were going to stay at like a friend's house.
Okay. Do you know why she did that or did you ask her why she did that?
No, I think she said like she just didn't want the person that we were staying with, like for them to get like attention brought to their house.
Did your mom ever mention to you the fact that that van may have had a GPS device on it? She's driving.
No.
Do you know that?
No.
You know that now?
Yes.
How'd you unload the van in Myrtle Beach or did you unload the van?
I did not know.
Who unloaded the van in Myrtle Beach?
I was told something of who unloaded the van. I don't know if you want to hear that.
Well, who told you that? I guess it depends on that.
It is my best friend's mom.
Okay, we can't get into that.
Okay.
We can get into things your mom tells you, but
Okay.
not others, okay?
Okay.
You stay in Myrtle Beach up until the point your mom was arrested.
Yes.
Tell the jury about your mom's arrest.
I was scheduled to go in to meet with my recruiter that morning. And she brought me there. She waited in the car that we had there. And that's when I walked in and like there was like police and everything talking to me and told me that she had been arrested.
Did you actually see her get arrested?
No, I did not.
And did this happen on March 2nd of 2020?
Yes.
Did you give an interview with FBI agent sitting over here?
Yes.
Recognize him?
Yes.
And did you talk about some of the things that we talked about here with regards to the Dollar Tree and the events surrounding Gannon's disappearance?
We did. Yes.
Were you completely upfront with him at that time?
Yes.
When you were talking to him, did you still believe that your mom didn't have anything to do?
Yes.
And that was before Gannon's body was discovered, is that right?
Yes.
What about when Gannon's body was discovered?
That was a little bit after when I found out it was discovered in Florida. It was just weird because like to myself, I was like, we were in Florida. But I kept like wanting to think it was like a coincidence and that somebody like did follow us or there was a difference.
And this is a person that's already lost their birth father. They believed to murder, now finds out it was substances. They have already lost their stepfather. And now they're getting this information about their mom. So there is this thing in our brains. It is cognitive dissonance, where things that don't fit into our reality, it can be really hard to integrate that new information. That sometimes we distance ourselves from information that's different, that isn't. And this is tough. And so
Sorry.
You still believed your mom even after that?
Yes.
At what point did you not believe your mom anymore, that she didn't have anything to do with Gannon's death?
I like started having questions, but I still like believed her for a while. And it wasn't until this past like November, it was recently.
What are your thoughts about your mom pleading not guilty by reason of insanity?
I didn't know what it meant at first. Yeah.
Did you learn what that meant in November?
Yes.
I want to talk about your life with your mom since the day you were born, as far back as you can remember. Okay.
Okay.
Had you been with her 24/7?
Yes. Other than like when I was at school or work or
Would she ever disappear for weeks at a time and you not know where she's at?
no.
Had you always known where she was at up until we talked about the Life 360 app? But had you always known where your mom was at for a given time?
Yes.
Had you ever gone to Australia with your mom?
No.
to me, this testimony is extremely powerful to debunk what the defense might say. And people are innocent until proven guilty. I moderate the comments because I don't want negative statements. Like, we can comment on what happened, but when people start making judgments, and these cases bring up a lot of emotion, and I get it. It's just one of those boundaries I have for my page and my channel because I just want to create a safe place for other people to watch and just also respecting this process.
Have you ever gone to Saudi Arabia with your mom?
No.
Has your mom ever gone to Australia or Saudi Arabia without you?
No.
Would you know that if she did?
Yes.
Had you ever seen your mom change personalities into someone she isn't?
No.
What do you mean by that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Has she ever not remembered who you were?
No.
Have you ever seen her not remember who Al Stauch was?
No.
Have you ever seen her not remember who Gannon was?
No.
Lena?
No.
And somebody that does have dissociative identity disorder, they're going to have breaks in time and if you want me to talk more about what DID is and DID versus borderline personality disorder versus some of those other things, please let me know. But with DID, this person, there are alters that protect the host from emotional pain, and the host loses time. And there are major changes. During graduate school, I was able to actually meet somebody that does have this diagnosis. They had worked with my professor for, I think, over 20 years and had given permission to be able to come and just sit and talk with a group of graduate students that were going to be future therapists. And I will never forget, because often DID is rooted in a lot of very, very early childhood trauma. For this individual, that was like, I think, infancy or probably prenatal as well. And then what happens is there are these breaks in time. Dissociation is a coping mechanism, and sometimes we do it so much that you can lose major aspects of time. This is a very complicated diagnosis, because I know there was like supposedly teenagers were going on TikTok trying to diagnose themselves with it. It's not just having this change like, oh, one day I act like this and one day I act like that. No, like there are completely separate identities with their own names, their own personas, their own everything. And from what the prosecution is presenting, they are trying to say that coming up with this diagnosis, that was another form of manipulation for Letecia to come and not be responsible for her actions. And they feel she is responsible for her actions. And when major things happen like this, like how could, someone who was an okay stepmom, like how could they do this? Like our brains want to understand that. And sometimes what comes in is, oh, did they lose it? Did they snap? What happened to this person? This one's tough. Let's keep going.
Had she ever been treated for any mental illness in your lifetime?
No.
Would you know that if she was treated?
Yes.
Would you know if she ever went to a psychiatric hospital and was in an inpatient program and couldn't leave because of some kind of mental illness?
Yes.
Had that ever happened?
No.
I do want to fast forward a little bit to a few questions the prosecution asked, and then we will see the final thing, which is just very heartbreaking.
Growing up, do you remember your mom being paranoid about you getting kidnapped?
Not specifically me being kidnapped. She was always just worried about me.
I mean, she would give you code words.
Um,
And that sounds like anxiety. So like I have a code word with my son. Like that would necessarily, but that's an interesting question.
yes.
What were the code words? Like, we would describe. What do you mean by that?
I think it was like my middle name.
How were you supposed to use it?
She would say it so that I would know that it was her talking to me.
Okay. Did you say why this would be necessary?
No, I just thought it was normal mom things, making sure your kid's safe.
Okay. And you guys would also have safe places that you would meet up if necessary?
No,
Like the Chick-fil-A parking lot?
no,
You started using the name Taylor just prior to meeting Al?
yes,
You remember complaining to her that it was confusing for you? You didn't know what to call her?
yes, because I didn't know if that was her. I was told it was her middle name, so
What about using the name Nicole?
no,
In those text messages between you and the phone that was your mother's phone, who's the name on your mother's phone?
it says Nicole.
So they go into this a little bit deeper. Let's keep going.
I lived with one different person.
Okay, you live with Dee Dee.
Yes,
Okay. You were also getting financial support from Aunt Brenda,
yes,
and Brenda had bought you a car.
yes,
And then she took that car away from you guys because you guys had a disagreement.
yes,
And it was difficult for you to get back and forth to nursing school.
yes,
And so in January of 2023, you set up a GoFundMe page.
yes,
And on that GoFundMe page, you say, "Hi, my name is Harley. For those of you who don't know my story, I lost both my parents a few years ago when I was 17 years old."
yes.
That statement seems to imply that both your parents died when you were 17.
I don't think it does. No.
Okay. Well, your dad had died a long time before that.
Yes,
Okay. And you didn't lose your mom. Your mom was just in prison, in jail in Colorado.
I lost her.
Okay.
And I get what he's trying to get at. We'll keep going.
But you don't think that that's at all misleading to get people to give you money?
Nope, it was for my friends and family so they could have like a source to send it to me.
You're likely to get more money from people if they thought your mom was dead, as opposed to if your mom was living.
No.
You also put in there that you've been having to provide for yourself a place to stay, transportation, and the college and the necessities of everyday livelihood.
Yes.
But you said that your aunt, up until just before that, had provided you a car.
She would, at the beginning of all this, cared and would help me with things. And then she would manipulate me and take everything away from me if I didn't do what she told me to do.
Okay. But you indicate on your GoFundMe that nobody's helped you and that you're just out there all alone.
No, I did not.
During this time, not only was I struggling coping with this, was also struggling with navigating my way through life and getting myself back on my feet. I had to provide myself a place to stay, transportation, college, and everyday's necessities. I never asked for help during this time and always tried to figure out everything on my own. It was a struggle filled with both highs and lows, but God has always provided a way.
Yes.
Okay? And you don't think that's different than it actually was?
I don't think that's what?
You don't think that was a manipulation of the truth?
No, it's not.
How much money did you raise from that?
Like $800 or something.
Ms. Hunt, I want to start with where Mr. Cellini ended on this GoFundMe page.
Okay.
Tell the jury why you did this GoFundMe page.
When this all happened to me, I was left with literally nothing. You would think that if my mom knew that she would do this, she would do something to, like, prepare her daughter or set her daughter up to not have parents or financial help. I had people in the beginning, they were very nice and they volunteered. I never asked people for anything, like I had said in my GoFundMe paragraph.
And
It's like I was like thrown out into the world with nothing.
Up until then, it had been her and her mom against the world. Like they were together. And I forget if it comes later, if she already said it. There have been times when her mom had threatened to leave Albert, but had always turned back around. And that's what she thought was going to happen, that they were going to work it out. He would talk to her and things would be fine.
let me ask you this. You indicated on cross-examination that it was August of 2022 that your Aunt Brenda cut you off?
I think it was September or August, yeah, somewhere around then.
So was it after you came to
And they're going to get into this. And he was trying to see if it was because of her testimony. And she did not say that.
Colorado to give this statement for a proffer and told us what you told this jury today?
Yeah, it was after.
Did she find out about it? Is that why she cut you off?
Foundation.
I can rephrase.
You can rephrase, right?
Do you know why she cut you off?
There was just multiple like reasonings that didn't really make sense. She just didn't agree with, like with the insurance of the car and things like that.
Needless to say, it was after you gave your statement is when she took your car back and stopped providing you with funds.
Yes.
And you're in college, you're in nursing school, right?
Yes.
Were you working at the time?
Yes.
Now, when you made the post about losing both parents, what did you mean?
I lost both my parents. It was like one day you wake up and your whole life changed. I lost my stepdad and I lost my mom and my brother. I lost everybody.
Were you trying to imply that your mom had died?
No.
Were you just stating the fact that she was arrested and you hadn't seen her since she's been arrested?
Yes.
At the very end, he asked her if she loves her mother, and she just cried. And he ended up taking the question back. But I think the effect was still there for the jury. In another section, she talked about not feeling like she could ask questions. She couldn't talk back, that would be seen as being disrespectful. And that's where I talk about blind obedience, that when we expect blind obedience from our children, that we make them susceptible to potential misuse or worse in the future because they're just told to just go along with things and not ask questions. And I think there's an appropriate and healthy way within boundaries for a child to disagree appropriately and still be respectful. So my child, if I tell him, all right, you need to, so right now my kid has a jacket that's too small, but guess what? He's going to wear it until it disappears for summer and I'm going to get rid of it. Until then, like, he's gonna wear this jacket that's a little bit too small. And a part of it is me getting over my thing of like, he has jackets that fit. He just wants to wear the dinosaur one. Like, this is the one that he wants to wear. Because sometimes as parents, we think, oh, like this reflects poorly on me. But it's like, he's 5, he's wearing a jacket, and he'll be okay. If you want to check out some of my other videos on parenting, I have a whole playlist on that, playlist on taking care of anxiety. These cases are incredibly difficult. If you are watching along, please take care of yourself along the way. And I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day.